Howdy, everyone. Rich Morrow, still at the VentureBeat booth on the JW Marriott, third floor, up here in the corner if you want to come and say hi. We've got with us Steve Fickes and Pete Nelson from Redbox. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Cool
Thanks
company. We were just talking about. It's great to have a company that's got some really cool like back-end story and logistics and everything. Like you guys work at tremendous scale, the amount of work you do.
Absolutely. We do. Absolutely. Yeah, we have a network of over 40,000 kiosks. So when it comes to our retail footprint, we have something that most retailers don't. You know, the largest retail footprint out there in the United States.
Physical presence.
Exactly.
And from a merchandising perspective as well, we typically are handling around 50 to 60 million discs a year. So really, really large inventory, keeping track of the product across a really diverse retailer network.
Sure.
Definitely presents some challenges.
Yeah, but in the data analytics world, you want a lot of data points because it feeds you a lot of good insight and helps you optimize the heck out of things.
Absolutely. There's no shortage of things to be able to look at in our roles.
Cool, cool. So you guys just, your presentation coming up, is it already done? Or did
we actually did it yesterday.
Oh, you did it yesterday, cool.
Yep.
That was a brief history of Tableau at Redbox, entertaining the masses from operations to strategy. Can you tell us a little bit of the trailer of that,
Sure.
the 2-minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So Steve and I actually work on different teams. I work in operations analytics, and Steve is on the strategy side.
Okay, cool.
And we actually both submitted presentations unbeknownst to each other. Tableau reached out and said, hey, would you be willing to combine them?
Oh, that is cool.
So we actually worked the two presentations together and also talked a little
You guys knew each other in the company?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, we were actually able to incorporate a third piece where Steve and I partnered together, our teams worked together, and it worked as a great vehicle to get from the operations side to the strategy side and really tie those two things together and have a cohesive story from start to finish.
Yeah. So
that is really awesome.
We really just basically covered over the last 3 years, 3 pretty large initiatives within the company and how Tableau kind of played a pivotal role in really shaping the insights and driving all 3 of those initiatives.
Cool. Those initiatives are not public, or?
No, absolutely. So we started, and Pete gave a little bit of background about how we've been using Tableau for merchandising optimization. So again, that gets into figuring out what to do with the 60 million disc, making sure they're in their kiosk. And then we also talked a little bit about a pretty large rebalancing initiative in the company in 2014. So with our business model, essentially all of our customers can rent the disc and return it anywhere they want. So you can imagine 40,000 kiosks, it's super convenient for customers, but it's
McDonald's,
also
any superstore,
anywhere they want. It's a nightmare for our inventory because we put 10 copies of a given title on day 1, and then 3 days later,
wiggle out.
You've got 40 sitting in one kiosk and none in another.
It's almost like the rental car company problem, right? Everybody's driving in or flying into Orlando, and
pretty much, yes.
Exactly.
So that initiative was just designed on using our field throughout the regular process to kind of proactively fix some of those inventory imbalances. And then we also talked a little bit about just network optimization and how we think about our retailer footprint and our 40,000 kiosks and how we operate in that spectrum.
Very, very cool. And you guys have such a, I haven't seen anybody, you have no competitors, I don't think, right? Or no major. I've only seen a Redbox anywhere I've ever gone.
No major competitors. We're pretty much flying solo in the DVD space. So
yeah, that's cool. And do you think your analytics and your ability to get ahead of the game and be able to optimize at the level that you are kind of ups the hurdle to keep folks from being able to enter that?
I think more so it's really just helped us meet some challenges head on over the past couple of years.
Gotcha.
Steve talked about the 50 or 60 million discs that we're putting into our kiosks every year. Right. There's 40,000 kiosks, and we've got a field staff of 1,000 employees. So you've got all these touch points along the way, and people that are handling inventory.
And humans involved everywhere, and humans are messy.
Exactly. And going back, 3 or 4 years, all of that was handled through just data sheet reports, and Excel, and pick lists and things. Just very manual process. Again, with a lot of hands touching the inventory along the way. Right. So, what we wanted to do on the operations side specifically was identify some challenges that our field teams were having. They were reaching out saying, listen, we're doing our very best. We're doing our very best to get this inventory out there, but it's very time consuming and a lot of administrative work for us to make that happen, and then also track the progress on the back end and understand how well we're doing. And so those were really opportunities where we recognized Tableau can help here. I actually go back and think about that conference in DC back in 2013, where we actually first started introducing some of these concepts and partnering with our BI team to get data off of these reports and onto our Tableau server so we could start consuming it in a real-time fashion and create tools, interactive tools that our field team can use, as opposed to leafing through hundreds of spreadsheets. They're now looking at one dashboard that tells them exactly what they need to know.
Sure.
It guides them through, tells them where they need to click and what they need to be focused on so they can make
Sure, and all those
decisions.
1,000 employees probably have a tablet, right? And they just,
Yeah, they also have laptops, air cards, so yeah, really they've become also a huge part of what we do in the company because we've kind of opened up Tableau and all of our data and we leverage them as analysts. So they're the first people to point out issues on the ground. They have more experience with the network, and so I think Tableau has been a huge tool, but just also really kind of riding that trend of saying, let's embrace it as an organization. Let's really open up and make kind of analytics the driving theme behind everything we do at every level.
Sure.
Has been very big for the company.
awesome.
It's beneficial to have a competitive field staff too.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody gets to see everybody else's numbers and some of the things that we've set up, and so it creates a bit of that competitive atmosphere.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the top dog.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so by putting that information in everyone's hands and showing you who's successful and perhaps who's having challenges, it also allows management to come together and say, let's get everybody together and understand why this person is successful and where can this person be more successful, where can they steal ideas from this person and have a more cohesive team and obviously more successful along the way.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a pretty novel. Like the only other company I've seen that do that really successfully is like Whole Foods, opening up all their store data and being able to do that. It takes a lot of courage to do that, right?
Sure.
And be able to and put the pressure on your team. But do you think the overall were there some folks resistant to it? I mean, imagine the underperformers knew they were underperforming and they're like, no, we didn't want to. But
Sure, and I mean, there's also that old adage, right? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Sure.
And that was one of our first challenges as we really started to roll out some of these tools. We have folks that have 10
Not
plus
tech
years
savvy.
of tenure. Right, not tech savvy, and also 10 plus years of tenure, and they've been doing it the same way every day
Sure,
for
the
years and
computer's
years
harder
and
for
years.
them in the beginning,
And so to
yeah.
introduce a new process to them and to try to convince them why it's more beneficial for them to use this process, why these tools are beneficial for them, that was really that challenge, kind of getting over that hump at the beginning.
Sure.
I would say now, for the most part, I would say our field staff not only recognizes the benefits, but they're now reaching out saying, hey, here's some other areas where perhaps you may be able to help us out.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think the fluidity of the interface has a lot to do with that? Because they're not fighting it. It's not like, they don't hate the thing. They actually start loving it and they start promoting it and start bringing it back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, from our end, anytime we're designing something to track or have the performance reporting perspective, you always have to think about it as what are the end users and is it going to be simple enough for them really to embrace it? And so, it's definitely nothing that we've done has been a top-down approach. It's always,
Very cool.
with any type of tool that we put out there, we start with the conversation and saying, does this make sense for you guys? Are there other elements, that you potentially need to see from an analytics perspective? So we really start with the field and have them help shape, what we do as an organization.
And it's a great point on the fluidity, too, of just the interface. So that's really, from my perspective, in dealing with our field team, it's really what we've tried to develop. Every tool that we're trying to develop is just that. We want it to be a tool. We want it to be interactive. We want it to be a little bit instructive as well. Because what you find is folks will be looking at it and something may pop off the page, whether it's color or a shape or something that means something to them. They've now hovered over it. We use tooltips to tell them what to do next, right? You've asked this question, let the dashboard tell you what to do next, right? Click here, it'll tell you more. And so just allowing them to kind of get in there, start to get their feet wet, but giving them enough instruction behind the scenes that it guides them to that next step of what they need to be looking at, takes all the guesswork out of it.
That was really awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are some of the favorite features you guys have personally as either developers of the dashboards or for your users, some stuff that they rate? Especially,
Well,
I'm really interested because the staff you've got, I can imagine
Sure.
it's not your typical computer user, yeah.
Sure. I'm a big map guy. I'm a big fan of the maps on Tableau. I try to utilize them as much as possible. In fact, I've been told sometimes to dial it back because folks don't care about the maps as much as I do. But again, when you're talking about a network of 40,000 kiosks and you're able to plot them on a map and give a field supervisor a visual representation of what their network looks like,
Sure.
and if decisions need to be made, if there's technical visits that need to happen, and they can make those decisions geographically by plotting it out on the map and better understanding where the kiosks are that are in need of their help.
Sure.
That's a
Must be
feature that's
pretty interesting. The
near
space
dear
and
to my
time
heart.
additions that are coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And over the last 2 years, I've focused in the company on our network optimization efforts.
Okay,
so
cool.
completely agree with Pete that really the geospatial analytics that are available in Tableau and the mapping, to me, that's the best feature. I mean, we've been able to kind of go from originally thinking about our network on a series of kiosks on an Excel sheet and not really understanding how they relate to each other, to being able to really create tools that generate insights on their own and look at state level performance, how do the individual kiosks are distributed across the entire US, what counties are they in,
Sure.
and everything's interactive. So as you're clicking on one item, you're really discovering something else about the network that you didn't previously know.
Yeah, the tooltips with the in-page analytics is going to be really cool for
Yeah,
you guys.
absolutely.
Looking forward to that
Absolutely.
quite a bit.
Cool. And I'd imagine you guys you probably experienced like organic growth and you started one market and moved to another and folks started doing different stuff. Did you have that same fragmented data problem that a lot of folks have, or were you able to get ahead of that before it was an issue? A lot of folks are building it. You guys are a fairly new company. You may not have dealt with that. It's just kind of.
So I think the organization has always been a data-driven organization. So at least for the last 5 or 6 years, we've had really, really solid data on pretty much everything that we do.
Gotcha.
But having said that, we've only been around for a little over 10 years, and we started off as a company with
Is that long? Wow.
3,000 to 4,000 kiosks, and for pretty much 6 to 7 year time period, we're almost doubling in size and adding 4,000 to 5,000 kiosks a year. I think Pete, you were talking to me earlier about a statistic in 2009 where we were almost adding a kiosk every 20 minutes.
Oh my
so you can imagine, even if we have the data in house to track it, when you're growing
Sure.
at that rate, there are going to be some inefficiencies. And so really now, as we're a mature company, we're starting to harness that and then figure out, okay, where do we need to be? What does our network look like as a whole? And then how do we make sense over what's happened over the last couple of years of the growth?
Cool. And how has Tableau been, and the integration pieces that you have for Tableau, how have they all been able to hold up with that growth? Because that's pretty significant.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Again, talking about 1,000 field employees, not everyone has access to the dashboards, and not everyone needs access to the dashboards. We're talking about a team of about 130 supervisors,
Okay.
and we've put it in their hands. As we started out, it was a feeling out process of understanding our license and concurrent users and things like that. There were occasionally a few little challenges and hiccups along the way. Load time was mostly the feedback we were getting from our field teams.
Gotcha.
All of that's since been addressed. Certainly not looking to expand our field team, so we don't anticipate issues in that regard moving forward, purely from a bandwidth perspective.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anything to add? That's pretty much
No,
the same?
yeah, I mean, Pete covered it for sure.
Gotcha, cool. So what do you guys, like, what would you, if you had your druthers in Tableau, is there anything that you would, because I'd imagine you guys have a pretty, maybe not super unique, but just for the number and the size of the small and the volume of things running through there, are there any unique things that you guys would like to see in Tableau? Like if you could redesign anything in the interface?
So to me, I don't really think about it from that perspective, but what it really is each time we come to these conferences, you see all the new features and things that are being rolled out, and it's kind of adapting as the software changes. There's always more and more items that you can do. They're now rolling out maps that you can zoom in on. You can layer in PDF data from the government. So I think each time Tableau has one of these updates, it's trying to think creatively of, okay, now that there's this capability and that capability out there, can I add another dynamic layer to what I'm doing right now and make it that much more informative? So it's really evolving with the software, and I think that's the biggest thing that we focus on.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's a great point. One of the things I look forward to as I come to the conference and just interact with folks throughout the year on the forums and everything else is, what are the new features and how do they impact me, or how could they impact me?
Sure.
Where can we leverage those new features to add another layer to that? We call it a toolbox for our field teams. Where can we add another layer to that? Where can we realize some more efficiencies? So it's always exciting to see those new features, and I really appreciate the fact that on the forums you get that great feedback and you get that great dialogue going, and the fact that Tableau as a company is willing to accept that feedback from their end users and say, if these are things that you're truly passionate about and that you truly want to see in the software, we're willing to investigate that and look into bringing that into a future development.
Yeah, and it's not just talk either, right? It's actually followed up with product 6 months later.
Exactly.
Yeah, and an example of that, a few years ago, Tableau came up with the ability in tooltips to click on hyperlinks. And so we already had network optimization dashboards in place where we were seeing how our entire network really looked, but we had a separate kiosk survey process where a field had gone through, surveyed the condition of kiosks and classified them, and even uploaded their own internal pictures of the kiosk. And so you hear about that new feature, and then I know that that's out there. So it's thinking about, well, is there something that we can use from that survey process in network optimization? And we've been able to leverage it so that now when we're clicking on an individual kiosk to understand how it fits in the market, we can see all those survey reports, we can see the image of the kiosk, see the condition of it, we know the age. So again, it's thinking about what we have in-house, and as these new tools are being introduced, how do we kind of incorporate all those things together?
Just holistic approach to the whole
Exactly.
whole stack.
Absolutely.
Very awesome. And what is your, and you guys don't have to answer this, I'm just asking you, what does your overall like Tableau deployment look like? Is that something you're at liberty to talk about, or? And you can say no if you're not sure.
It's certainly something that I would be at liberty to talk about, but I don't know that I can give you the most accurate answer.
I see.
Us being more on the development side and the analytics side.
I see. Not really on the infra part.
We deal more with the desktop, obviously.
Sure.
We've got our BI team that deals with the server on the back end and the licenses and everything else.
Sure.
In terms of end users.
On-prem, it's cloud, it's mixture.
I believe it's all just server-based within our own data warehouse.
Oh, just okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, with an end user base of roughly 250, 300 people total, if you factor in everyone that might be touching the software, we've got a lot of end users for sure.
Right. Cool. And what are, do you guys, I'd imagine you could probably make use of Hyper as well when it comes out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, it's funny, every single time we go here and we see the new developer apps or the new different developments, you're kind of like rushing home with ideas, saying like, God, when that comes out.
Sparkshare, yeah. And what I love too is they give you a little bit of flag ahead of time. It's not like, hey, this thing's out and you had no time to prepare for it, but by the time that you're ready to integrate it, it's there and it's ready for you.
Yeah, and that's it's always a really good kind of selling point for them, because I feel like when you see those new features and you see the progress that's been made in a year, it's just a validation of like you're kind of partnered with the right software moving forward, because as you want to advance, you want to look at things more critically, the software is right there, allowing you to do more and more each year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to rehash a previous point, all these new features are results of folks just like us that are coming back and saying, these are things that we would really love to see in a future build, and Tableau is very receptive to that.
Totally.
Yeah.
We almost get a little jealous when we add new analysts to the team, because the version of
to-
Tableau that they're working with, it's, I spent a
cool
month
new
trying to
toys.
figure out, that trick, because there's a little bit of a glitch here, and then they come in, and then, no, I just click that button, and then,
Dude, why did that take you a month?
Yeah,
Click,
so-
done.
Sure.
Very cool. Well, guys, thank you so much.
yeah,
thank
absolutely,
you.
really
It's great
enjoyed
being
it.
here. Enjoy the
Thanks a lot.
conference.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks again.
Great, gang, we're going to take a bit of an extended break. I promise. I got it right this time. It's going to be about an hour and a half, and then we'll be back at 2:20. See you then.